Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today let's talk about something a bit more serious. I'm going to be talking about the open game license issue going on with D&D right now, and I want to talk about like Critical Role's sort of response to it because my entire channel is built around them right now, and I do think I need to talk about it a little bit, as you know their voice on it is very important, and as of right now, they haven't really put their voice out to be heard. They did give somewhat of a response about it, but first I want to talk about what this open gaming license stuff is, and that is, for those who don't know, the open game license was the thing that allowed everyone that you've ever seen create third-party stuff. It allowed them to sell it and make money off it, and not be attacked by Wizards of the Coast. It allowed people, just random people, to put them out there. Critical Role, first of all, obviously was hugely benefited by this original OGL, and Paizo, the people who created Pathfinder initially. Those are the two biggest ones that I can really think of. I'm sure other creators out there, the people who made Strixhaven's, Humblewood, a handful of other things that you've seen. Obviously, live streams also were affected by this, and were allowed to just live stream without having to do anything. And they could still use D&D stuff. So like the game itself they could use online, the monsters they could use online. You could make a monster using the exact same format, stats, layout, and how things work, and then sell it, and then no one can come after you for it. But then a couple of weeks ago now, I think it was the beginning of this year, 2023, where they being Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast decided they were going to get rid of this old OGL and come in with a new one, which would make people, first of all, there's three big points that came with it. The first one being you'd have to sign up to get a license. To me, that's whatever. I personally don't see the issue with having to sign up for a license, even though beforehand you didn't. So I guess if that's an issue, you didn't have to do it before. So why should I do it now? Sure. The other two are the big problems. So there was if you made more than $50,000, you'd have to disclose that. Now, they weren't taking royalties from you at that point, but the other part of this was that once you hit $750,000 per year off of making D&D stuff, then they could take 25% royalties off it. And I believe Kickstarter stuff, they said any Kickstarter they could take royalties off, but it was only like 20%, which was a huge problem because lots of Kickstarters need that money. So now you're suddenly losing 20% and it's going right to Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro. That's a problem. So the last one, which to me is the biggest problem, I understood the royalties thing, because to me, asking for royalties from people who make $750,000 a year and you're asking 25% makes sense. I think that number's a little too high. They should have probably went lower. But at the same time, that's a lot of money about your game that you're not seeing. So I understand where they were coming from for that. The issue for me comes from the last part, which was at any point in time they could give you a 30-day notice and sort of cancel this royalty thing and just start taking more money from you. And they could take your thing that you made, so like your book, your ideas, your monsters, your classes, and sell them as if they were their own, which was how this was originally presented. And that's a huge problem. That's effectively stealing. That is stealing. It's not effectively stealing. That's straight up stealing. And this is huge. And it's a big problem. So to the point where almost everything you see around D&D right now, the movie completely is getting overshadowed by this OGL shit, which sucks because I actually really want to see that movie. But I want to talk about, and they gave a response, which was this was only a draft, which is apparently a load of shit. So we're currently, the fans, the content creators, the third-party creators, the YouTubers, all in the D&D space are all in a civil war against Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. So for a lot of those people, they hate this because obviously that means they're going to not be able to make money at all, or straight up lose money, or stuff like that. They're not going to be able to create things, and people are saying we should leave the D&D space and go to other tabletop RPGs and play those games, create stuff for those games. Paizo and other tabletop RPG creators have said that they're gonna allow people to do whatever they want. So Paizo, who make Pathfinder, are basically saying you can come over here do what you used to do for 5e, and bam. That's where people are ending up. And now a lot of people are saying, like, it's come out that Hasbro execs have said that the customers are obstacles in the way of money for them, in the way of their money. So what they're doing is, you know, this is what they just want, more money, which is bad. Very, very bad. So to go sort of continue on with that, a bunch of employees at Wizards of the Coast, and I would imagine D&D Beyond, are leaking information and putting themselves out there and saying these things. They are the ones who leaked the drafts in quotes of this new OGL, or some of the changes they put out. They're also the people who have like leaked their obstacles to our money quote and a handful of other things. So then Wizards of the Coast, through D&D Beyond, which really sucks because they're making D&D Beyond the problem, kind of. They're making them the voice to talk through, which to me is bad, because D&D Beyond didn't used to belong to Wizards of the Coast. It used to be its own thing that was using the OGL. So it kind of sucks for them that they're now the ones getting, you know, the gun pointed at them, and then by proxy Wizards and Hasbro. So another thing that's happening with this, because the response to this was, you know, oh, this was just a draft. So people are very upset. So they came out and said this OGL was just a draft, even though they sent it out to content creators and said, sign it, this is a contract. So that's not a draft. That's a final form. That would have been the last thing. That would have been the whole license. So people, content creators all over, forget his name. I think he's D&D Monkey or Monkey D&D has commented about this. A handful of other, I think Dungeon Dudes have talked about it. The biggest one being D&D Shorts. He is going after Hasbro's and Wizard of the Coast. I don't know if he's attacking D&D Beyond, but he's going after the two head honchos and all of this. And he's put on Twitter that he's going to release a huge video surrounding all of this. So that's coming, I think, tomorrow. So that's something. But the fan base and the community reaction to this was cancel D&D Beyond subscriptions, because that's how they were going to make their money off of this new OGL and OneD&D, because they weren't going to be making books anymore, which I hate personally. I would like books. I have a whole shelf over there filled with my books. I like my books. So, you know, their new thing was going to be subscription based through D&D Beyond. So in the community's very intelligent response was, well, we're going to be your obstacle to your money now, and we're going to cancel our D&D subscriptions. And it is doing an amazing job of destroying lots of Wizard of the Coast Hasbro's confidence in this whole idea. And they've had to backpedal because of this response, which is where they came out with this is a draft sort of answer to all of this, which it was not a draft. So at first, when I read the response, I was like, okay, good, we win. But as you continue reading down, they literally say this is not a win for those calling us out. This is a win for everybody, which is very bad. And to go even further, for me, when I read this, I was like, okay, so whatever the next draft of the OGL is going to be, sounds like it's going to be royalty free. People aren't going to be predatory and they're not going to be able to steal shit. I'm good with this. Then I read everyone else's responses to this, because I'm not a content creator. So to me, I was like, okay, it looks very similar with a few changes so that Hasbro and Wizard of the Coast can still make some extra money. And to me, I was like, that's probably the best we're going to get. The rest of the fan base has said, fuck that. We want the original OGL to continue. And you know what? I agree. I want the original one, because it's what made 5th edition the juggernaut of tabletop RPGs that it has become. So keeping this sort of whole, you know, original OGL there is very important. So now the community's fighting back to keep the original, which is great. Time to move on to the Critical Role side of all this, because it took 9 minutes to get here. And the important thing to know is Critical Role did put out a response, but I want to put out like a little bit more information before I talk about their response. So they are the biggest third-party, content creators for D&D 5th edition. There's no one else as big as Critical Role. So, yeah, just putting it out there that they are the biggest content creators and for both, live streaming, YouTube, and just in general making their own content. As they have, not only have they put out the Taldore Reborn campaign guide, they also made 2 campaign guides and one setting and one module through Wizards of the Coast D&D themselves, being the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount and now the Call of the Netherdeep module. So they have a relationship with WotC, Wizards of the Coast, that is so different from everyone else because of their just general size and their popularity. It's allowed them to have like legally licensed published stuff through Wizards of the Coast, through D&D. They have 2 books that have that big red D&D label on it and their logo on it. So it is completely different from a lot of other people when they talk about this stuff. I'm pretty sure they're one of the only content creators that have worked directly with them. If not, they're not as big. So the relationship is way different. So when I talk about their response, just keep that in mind. And their response is very much a nothing response. They said that they support creators and the game, and that they're going to continue doing what they're doing, is basically what their response said. So a lot of people are saying that this is very much a nothing response. I've seen some people call them sellouts because they're not like directly fighting it or anything like that. But you have to keep in mind their relationship is so different to a lot of other people in the creative space. But they also do have their own like gaming company with Darrington Press. So they have, and they kind of hinted at that, which is like in their response, like we created our own, gaming creating sort of company with Darrington Press. And this made some people believe one of 2 things. Either they're just not going to say anything at all and sort of continue going until this all blows over, or they might create their own sort of game. They might create their own tabletop RPG in the style of D&D to sort of continue moving forward with Critical Role, which also might lend to the idea that this campaign, the campaign 3, might be shorter because they might create their own game because of all this crap that's going on. And I also wondered if they were going to switch to OneD&D once this campaign wrapped up to sort of continue on with Wizards of the Coast. Who knows? But like I said, it's important to remember that they have such a different relationship compared to everyone else when it comes to this. Lots of people said Critical Role was being directly attacked with this OGL. That might be true because they are the biggest money-making group outside of D&D themselves, outside of Wizards of the Coast making money. Even though I'm pretty sure Wizards of the Coast saw very little of the money generated over the last few years compared to a lot of the third-party stuff, but it was very spread out. Critical Role probably received the most because of all the stuff they're able to make and the massive fan base they have with them. So it's important to keep this in mind when you go after them. I've seen people go after Critical Role, and I'm not here to defend them because I personally believe they should pick a side. They should pick if they're going to back Wizards of the Coast, which would be a terrible idea, or they should be backing us, the fans, the content creators, and they should say, we're going to not push D&D Beyond anymore. They should say, we're not going to push D&D anymore, or at least they're not going to, they're not going to push any of, any official stuff that comes to them to, sort of sell. They're not going to put any, this new book is out sort of thing in the beginning of their stuff. They should put content creator stuff there, their own stuff in the front like they normally do. They do other content creator stuff as well, but they should just stay away from D&D Beyond, WotC, Hasbro right now, and sort of just do their own thing. And that's how they're going to support it, and not use D&D Beyond anymore. It seemed at some point in time that they weren't using D&D Beyond, but as of late, they are again. So hopefully they can maybe move past that and not use them anymore. Who knows? This is the issue that you come up with when you're such a big company and you're so involved with D&D. Where do you draw a line for us? Because, us being them, that's hugely beneficial for them to be a part of that of Wizard of the Coast, of D&D, and be so like tightly connected to it, to the point where it's given them a ton of other options. So for them, they're in a much more difficult spot to talk about any of this, which is why I believe they haven't. And they're also pre-recording episodes. So I saw a bunch of people on the latest episode of Critical Role on Twitch saying, hashtag OpenD&D, or they got really pissed off when they pushed D&D. I think they pushed D&D Beyond twice. One in the opening and then one when there was a combat whisper or something, or just a whisper that happened in the last episode. And that's unfair because this is pre-recorded. That was pre-recorded before not necessarily before all of this was happening, but it was before like the big shift of we don't like D&D Beyond D&D right now. So for when I saw people attacking them in their own comment section of their Twitch, their own chat, I was kind of disappointed, but I did see some people saying this is pre-recorded. And then there were some people saying, we know this is pre-recorded, but we want to just put it out here anyway, hashtag OpenD&D. So, yeah. At the same time, I get where people are coming from when they're like, using Critical Role as a voice, as a platform, like their chat as a platform to sort of push other people in the direction. And it worked. There were tons of people who had no idea that this was happening. And I'm pretty sure if you go look at the YouTube comments for their YouTube video on the last episode that came out yesterday, you'll certainly find people saying hashtag OpenD&D. And, I just want to sort of put this out there that they're in a much more difficult spot than, other creators like D&D Shorts, who has never worked with, WotC before and has only put out their own stuff. So this is both a sort of defense piece or a conversation piece and a more of an understanding piece for those who don't really know what's going on and they're like just Critical Role fans. They don't know what's happening. That's all this is. I'm not saying that they should side with WotC and Hasbro because they absolutely should not. OpenD&D needs to be a thing. So yeah, just wanted to make this video, sort of give my 2 cents on it, sort of defend Critical Role a little bit because I've seen them get a lot of shit for virtually no reason, even though people don't seem to understand their very, very difficult position that they are, currently in with having the relationship they have with WotC and with the overall creator community. They're literally stuck in the middle, and it's very unfair for them to be in this position and for people to both attack them and defend them. They should pick a side, and everyone knows what side they should pick. Critical Role knows what side they should pick. Fucking WotC knows what side they should pick. The employees there know what side they should pick. So hopefully that happens, and if they just keep their head down, I hope it doesn't hurt them too much, because I don't think we live in a time anymore where you can just put your head down and sort of wait for things to blow over like this. It's not a storm. This is a full-on civil war, like I said earlier. So, yeah, they're going to have to eventually do something, say something more than what they did in their response. So until then, who knows? I'm going to continue watching Critical Role because they have Legend of Vox Machina coming out next week, which is exciting. So yeah, as for my opinion on OneD&D, not that it's really important, I'm not a big fan of it. Not a big fan of OneD&D, some of the changes, but I'm also a huge 5th edition fan. So I like a lot of the stuff that's in 5th edition. I grew attached to it. So for me personally, I'm going to stick with 5e and not go to OneD&D. But maybe that'll change down the future once my other friends are like, oh, maybe let's try this out. But who knows? Until then, I'm sticking with 5e, as should everyone. Stick with 5e and support content creators who are doing 5e stuff still. And if you're looking to go to other, tabletop games, Pathfinder 2nd edition is out. Savage Worlds, I believe, is another one that's out that lots of people enjoy. And there are tons of other games like that are out to go enjoy and play. Lots of people are going to Warhammer, which kind of a different game, but there's a lot of press around Warhammer right now because of Henry Cavill. So yeah, with all that being said, this has been me. Damn, this is a longer video than I thought it was going to be. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too much in certain areas. So yeah, see you guys on Friday with a much more fun conversation to talk about, because this is a difficult one for me to talk about because I'm not in the position that a lot of other people are in. I'm not a content creator that makes money off this stuff. I just talk about D&D itself, the story. I don't talk about the mechanics or anything like that. I just talk about the story and the characters. So for me, I'm in a weird spot to talk about this. So hopefully, hopefully this is something that, if you haven't heard about this at all yet, hopefully this opens your eyes to it. And I hope you don't blame the wrong people. Because I personally think D&D Beyond, like the people who work at D&D Beyond, are getting filleted right now, even though they're technically not the ones pulling the strings anymore. So anyway, moving on. See you guys on Friday for whatever video I make next. It'll be a much more cheery topic than this. Peace.